the Alex Pettit YouTube channel. It's been a while since I've done one of these lives. It feels almost a little distant, but I've been thinking a lot recently about IBC coming up in a couple of weeks' time in Amsterdam, and I've been trying to I was going to basically do a whole predictions video. And then I thought, actually, a better and a kind of more fun way of doing it is actually jumping on live and having a discussion with you guys and talking about some of the things that we might see come out in IBC in Amsterdam in a couple of weeks' time, some of your predictions as well. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on the chat as well. In fact, let me get that up on screen. There we go. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on the chat as well. So let me know in the chat what you think. If you're watching this on replay afterwards, let me know down in the comments if or what you think is coming in IBC 2025. Now, of course, I cover quite a lot of Blackmagic on this channel, so I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't do a bit of a focus on that. TV Steve Harris first commented in and says, "Wow, it's been a few years." A few years actually since I've done a full live. You're bang on there, Steve. It's been quite a while since I've done a live on this channel. I've been doing other stuff, and maybe a little bit later on I'll talk about some of or why I haven't been able to kind of produce as many YouTube videos as I would have liked in the last year or so, because I've been busy with a few other things, mainly things like studio builds, which feeds into, I hope, some of the stuff that I'll be able to show on the channel. Now that those projects are done, I can actually go into a bit more of the behind the scenes and show some pictures, so some videos, and actually go into some of the details of that as well. So I'm hoping to be able to share that with you in the coming months, and that should be really fun. But yeah, as I say, one of the things that I am really kind of looking forward to is IBC 2025, and I just thought it'd be a good chance for us all to get together. You guys can join in on the chat as well. We've already got a few of you coming in. As I say, Steve Harris, first one, AFTV as well, watching in Brazil, I think you're saying. Nice. And talk about what we might see there. There's already been some interesting announcements, and I'll fire some up on the screen, or some teasers of announcements. Actually, the first one, if I bring it, if I'm going to try and find it on here, was... I saw something from Canon the other day. Where can I find it? Maybe their Twitter? I think I saw it on Twitter. Oh, I'm not logged in here. Great. It looked like... Let's see if they've got anything on here. If not, I'll just go on the Canon. It looked like we could be seeing Canon coming out with a nice rival to the Sony FX3 range. Let's see if I go to Canon Twitter. It'll probably be their pinned tweet. Where was it? I bet it was Canon US. Canon US Twitter. And they've got an announcement coming out on the 9th of September, I want to say it was. Is this it? Why can I not find it now? I swear it happened. I swear I saw it. Am I going crazy? No. Canon announcement. 2025 September 9th. Come on, I'm not going... There we go. Teasing something new. I know I wasn't going crazy. I saw it on Twitter the other day. Look, if I show you that photo here, doesn't that just look like a Sony FX3 camera that Canon are teasing and will likely be bringing out at IBC? Or just before IBC, so that you can wander over to the Canon stand and get hands-on with it. Yeah, exciting times. I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with there. What else did I spot? Oh, another big announcement as well, which I think a lot of people have missed. Because Rode made a couple of announcements this week. The big one, of course, was the update to the RØDECaster video. They did a whole firmware update and software update to that, announcing the biggest feature, I guess, would be the introduction of NDI. So you can now bring in networked audio and video feeds over NDI in and out of the RØDECaster. So you could have NDI cameras coming into the RØDECaster, but then also have, I believe, one output from the RØDECaster back out to the network, so you can bring it in over the network to things like OBS or other NDI-enabled hardware. other really cool features on that which they announced. But one of the things that I think went under the radar, and by the way, I am keeping an eye on the chat, guys. In fact, if I do this, I can actually bring this up on screen and show you. Steve says, last time I saw you, you were big into Formula E. I still am into all sorts of motorsport, Formula E being one of them, Steve. I was working in Formula E. That must have been a while ago, probably about 5 or 6 years ago now. Still follow the series, and yeah, still enjoy the racing because it is some of the most competitive racing out there, but will always be a lover of Formula One as well. So yeah, the big announcement from Rode this week was, as I say, RØDECaster video update, enabling lots of stuff, one of which was NDI. But one of the things that I think went under the radar is this, more from like the parent company, but Rode being one of those that will be heavily affected by this, which is the fact that they are teaming up with Dante or Ordinate, the company behind Dante, and bringing that to their products. So it's not exactly clear whether Rode are going to incorporate Dante technology in existing products that are out there through a firmware upgrade, but certainly with products going forward, or the hardware going forward that they're set to announce, we should start seeing Dante in those products. If you don't know what Dante is, it is a fantastic, I guess protocol would be the right word, but basically it allows you to send audio over IP, over network. And it's been around in the broadcast industry for quite a while now. It is very much an industry standard way of transporting audio. It is like effectively zero delay. It is used a lot in a lot of production. So it's great that it's now the technology is now filtering down to these consumer and prosumer products like Rode products. Hello, who have we got? Jarrett says, good to see you online. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. As I say, it has been a while since I've been live on this channel. I think it's been, I could go back in my dashboard and see when the last live stream was. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that in a little bit, but I would imagine it's been at least a year or two. So I've just been getting the bug to want to go back live again, because when you upload a YouTube video, yes, you have the comments, and that's how, you know, I can interact with you a little bit in that way, but there is nothing like interacting on a live stream and being able to I've literally got a screen with your comments, live chat comments on right here. And so it's so nice. Like as I'm talking about a topic, you can just fire in what you think about that topic, and I've got that instant feedback mechanism. You don't get that when you're just uploading a video. So I do love lives. I've missed them, and I want to try and do a few more on here. And also I want to use them as obviously in the day job, I offer one-to-one consulting, but I want to try and use these lives as well, where if you have a question about your setup, it's an opportunity where I am live. You could just fire a question into the chat, and if I can answer it there and then and sort of help you along that way, then I can do that in these lives. If it's something that requires quite a bit more digging into, then yeah, we can take it to a one-to-one session. But if I can help in a way live, then why not? Let's do a few more comments before we move on. So Pete says, yeah, Freeman is really changing the game, local US production and adapting de facto audio standards. What is next? That is, yeah, it's a good question. What is next from them? I'm excited about. Certainly, I was excited when I saw this announcement in terms of the Dante technology being introduced into the Freeman groups. Obviously, Rode plays a part of that. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Mackie and Electrosonic are the other companies that they've mentioned in this article. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes from there, and also whether this opens up the door for other companies. You know, I'm a big Blackmagic lover. Could we see something like Dante coming to Blackmagic? Probably not, because Blackmagic have already or heavily invested in their own IP 2110 technology. So they probably were going down that route, and that's one of the reasons I'm sure we haven't seen NDI come into the ATEM products. But who knows? At least we're seeing it in more consumer products now, which is nice. What else have we got? Good question here from Eston. Says, do you think we will get a new ATEM Mini, or do you think they will stick with the ATEM Mini Extreme? Do you know what? The whole ATEM lineup is a really interesting one. Let's actually go over to Blackmagic's website and talk about this at the moment. Because I guess this plays part of like what we might see, or could we see something on an ATEM Mini line at IBC 2025? So on the screen here, I'll blow it up a little bit for you guys. There we go. This is their current line of ATEM Mini. And first of all, there's already something really interesting here, which is they announced, I think it was at IBC this year. I'm pretty sure, again, it all, sorry, not IBC, NAB, it all blurs into one as to when these products were announced. But you've got the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO G2 there, which is the latest switcher that they announced. That, I believe, was supposed to ship or start shipping end of July this year. To my knowledge, it hasn't shipped yet, and we're now into September. So I have a suspicion about what the delay is, and it's actually linked, I believe it's linked to the Thunderbolt port in the back of that device, which again is interesting because if you've been following recent Blackmagic stuff, you'll know that they had a massive delay on the Media Player 10G device because of the certification of the Thunderbolt port in that device. And one thing I will say is, well, first thing I'll say is I have no like behind the scenes knowledge of this or anything like that. But I will say I've seen this device and been hands-on one, and I've seen it working. So I know the technology is there. I know it's working. I had a demo of it at a trade show, and it looks really good. What I will say, first impressions of the G2 is it's bigger in real life than I thought. It's quite a bit bigger than the ATEM Mini Extreme G1. But of course, there's a lot more packed into it. So the technology is there. The question is, can Blackmagic, if this is what's holding it up, can Blackmagic get that Thunderbolt port certified by Apple? Once they can, then I'm sure we'll start seeing them shipped. Now, again, I could be completely wrong. There may be a hold up in manufacturing. There may be something else that is holding this up. But putting two and two together, I'm assuming that that is the cause of the delay for shipping the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO G2. And we'll have to see when. I'm saying when, not if. When this ships, because I'll be bitterly disappointed if this doesn't ship with the Thunderbolt port, because that is a major feature of this new model. But to go back to your question, Eston, what could we see that's new? I would say the likelihood of them refreshing the ATEM Mini line at IBC is quite minimal. Traditionally, what they tend to do, although I went back and actually looked at what Blackmagic did last year at IBC, but traditionally in the years gone by, what Blackmagic have done is they've announced a lot of hardware at NAB, and then they've used IBC to, yes, announce some hardware, but actually what I've seen them do more at IBC is the firmware upgrades, the feature upgrades of existing hardware, the workflow upgrades, things like Blackmagic Cloud and stuff like that as well. So I don't know how hardware heavy this IBC will be. I'm not quite sure, but I'll be interested to see. I do expect to get some new hardware, but I actually think they're going to be more of a focus on the technologies that they've been developing. Things like, I think we're going to see a lot of their IP 2110 stuff. I think there's going to be a massive push, continued push for cloud. It's obviously been a huge year for DaVinci Resolve with the release of DaVinci Resolve 20 and 20.1 just recently. But what we could see, maybe the only thing let me finish it this way. What we could see is a G2 version of the ATEM SDI Extreme ISO. Kind of would make sense. My only caveat to that is I actually would have expected them to ship this first, get some user feedback, and then release an ATEM Extreme ISO G2. They've not got that feedback. But I don't expect them to refresh at this point the ATEM Mini, like 4 input switches. I'd be surprised if they're selling many of those. The key one that I like, someone asked me to quote up for a build recently, a HDMI workflow. And just so you guys know, by the way, I have still got your comments. I'll come on to them in a second. But like when I spec up for a studio build, very rarely do I ever look at these 4 input models, even if the client says they only want 2 or 3 cameras or 2 or 3 inputs, simply because the original, and I'm taking the original ATEM Mini Extreme ISO here for HDMI, but that Extreme ISO version is so useful to have that additional HDMI, that additional USB-C in the back, that it is worth the extra money even when you don't need 8 inputs, because you get so much more functionality at it. 99% of the studio builds I do with ATEM Minis are always the Extreme version. And it's actually made getting an extreme ISO, an HDMI-based extreme, like gold dust at the moment, because nowhere's got any stock of the original ones and nowhere's got any stock of the G2s as well. So they're the most popular product on the market right now. Okay, a bit of a long-winded answer to your question. Let's go through some others. Mighty, you have said, I have an ATEM Mini Pro. One angle makes me look to the right and the other makes it look to the left on ATEM of software. Is there any way to flip the angle from one of these cameras? Good question. So inside of the ATEM, there isn't any functionality to be able to flip. You can crop, which isn't really helpful or anything like that. But yeah, there isn't, inside of the ATEM software control, there isn't any ability to actually flip or to mirror or do anything like that at this point of time. So no. Some of the stuff that I have done before, there isn't really a great way of doing it, unfortunately. One workaround that I have done before for a specific job was effectively taking that camera into something like OBS, flipping it in OBS, and then outputting it from OBS back into the switcher that we were using at the time. So in your case, taking it into the ATEM. I also sometimes do that with the output as well, to then put the output from an ATEM onto a teleprompter that doesn't have image flip capabilities already. So I flip it in OBS and then put the output to a monitor. So yeah, unfortunately, the ATEM doesn't have image flip capabilities at this point in time. I'll take a couple more questions and then we'll go on to a bit more predictions. Let's have a look at this one. HHP says, hey Alex, your videos on the Hyperdeck Shuttle HD gave me an idea to delay a live stream by 45 minutes. It works great, says Amanda. Awesome. So glad to hear that, Amanda. What are you doing for it? How are you then playing it back out in 45 minutes? Do you have like a second Hyperdeck Shuttle that's doing the playback? Because you can't, one of the things, for those of you that are watching, if you don't know, I'll show you the Hyperdeck Shuttle as we talk about it. So Amanda has this one here. Where's our playback devices? No, I want disc recorders. So Amanda's talking about this one here. No, that is the new one, but this one here, which is the Hyperdeck Shuttle HD, I think she said. Yeah, that can record over the network to a network drive, but it can't record and play back at the same time. So my guess is what you're doing is you're either playing back in 45 minutes using another Hyperdeck Shuttle or any playback device, really. You could just play it in a software playback because it's writing the file to a shared drive or a computer or something along those lines. So yeah, if you're still here, Amanda, let me know how you're doing the playback because I'll be interested to know. But yeah, these little Hyperdeck Shuttles, especially as well, this new Hyperdeck Shuttle 4K Pro, I really like the look of that one. I'm looking forward to getting hands-on. In fact, Amanda just got back and said, I delay it in DaVinci Resolve, and then you play back through DaVinci Resolve. No way. That's cool. So you're almost using like the DaVinci Resolve replay capabilities. If I've got a video in the works all about DaVinci Resolve replay and using I've got two videos actually in the works. I've got one that shows and demos DaVinci Resolve replay using an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, because I guess that's how most of you would look to use it, and showing that full end-to-end workflow. Hopefully that will be out soon. I'm just waiting for one last thing. And then another one is kind of like the same version of that. So that is kind of like the consumer or prosumer setup of doing replay. I've then got the like big bad broadcast version of that using Blackmagic products, which is they're so good. I have two of Blackmagic's, where did they go? The Hyperdeck Extreme 8K HDRs. And the reason I got these is because Blackmagic did a firmware update for them, which allows you to record 4 channels of 4K on one device. So I've got 2 rack mounted in my flight case next to each other, meaning I can do 8 4K ISO recordings on there. And they are recording, for me, they're recording right onto a Blackmagic Cloud Store network storage. And so then I can use DaVinci Resolve to do 4K replay with that device. So that video will be coming out at some point as well. That's going to take a little longer because I want to go into a bit more detail on that setup. But yeah, that's cool to see, Amanda, that you're using DaVinci as the playback device. Okay, couple more, and then let's do some predictions for IBC. What's this one? We've got one from Thickaholic, who asks, will Blackmagic make an ATEM app for iPad, e.g. a black box and touchscreen switching? Oh, I think I get what you mean. Almost like you've got the multi-view on your iPad and you just touch like camera 1, camera 2, the preview of it to switch. I don't know, is the honest answer there. They could do. I'm not sure whether many people would use it. I think the closest thing to that, if you haven't discovered the app Mix Effect by Adam, and his second name escapes me right now, if someone can help me in the chat. But if you haven't discovered Mix Effect for Blackmagic yet, check it out. It is a really, really cool app. So many features. And I think one of the features that this app has, it's for iPad and Mac and iPhone. But I'm pretty sure that is one of the features that it has, in that you can bring in the multi-view from your ATEM into Mix Effect and then tap on the image that you want to cut to. I'm trying to see if they have in the documentation whether they have a view of that. But it's got so many features. This app is seriously powerful for controlling your ATEM. I swear I can't remember the name of the feature, otherwise I could jump straight to it. Audio routing, and there are so many features now. External camera support. Yeah, there we go. So you can kind of see it there. So in the switcher tab, what you can do is take the USB-C. I think this is how you do it. I could be wrong. You take the USB-C from the ATEM into your... Is it into your iPad? No, I'm getting confused. But you're able to basically get your multi-view into the iPad and then cut on the iPad. So yeah, really cool app. Definitely check it out. Okay, I'm going to keep a close eye on your comments and we'll answer a few more of your questions. So if you have any, get them in the chat. But kind of back to the what we might see at IBC. So from a holistic point, as I say, I don't think this will be massive on the hardware spectrum for Blackmagic at IBC. Happy for them to prove me wrong here. But I think from what we will see is a focus on... I think we'll see quite a big focus on what Blackmagic are doing within the IP space. We may see some more IP 2110 products. So again, like at NAB, they brought, if I just go over to here, they brought this line of converters out and products for Blackmagic 2110. For those of you that don't know, Blackmagic's IP 2110 is effectively a way that you can transfer or transport image and video over the network. And they're building, it feels like they're building out this whole ecosystem from converters to ingest devices that will support 2110, possibly even cameras and firmware updates for cameras that will support 2110. I believe that IP 2110 is coming to the HyperDecks as well. So you'll be able to bring in stuff to record via 2110 and play back via 2110. So it's not a jump to see all of Blackmagic's products eventually support transporting audio and video over the network using their protocol. And what's really nice about it is and that's why, by the way, most of the new products now, if you look at the ATEM Mini G2, if you look at the cameras, if you look at the HyperDecks or the new HyperDecks, they all have 10 gigabit network ports, because that 10 gigabit port allows bandwidth up to 4K 60 frames per second over that 10 gigabit port. So yeah, I think we're going to see a big focus on here. I would like to think we see some additions in 2110. And I believe that is where the main focus is probably going to be for IBC for Blackmagic. Equally, as I mentioned before, I think they've done a lot this year. Like, this was probably one of the biggest years for Blackmagic in DaVinci Resolve's history. They've done, like, the things they brought out around AI and machine learning and things like that for DaVinci was massive. DaVinci Replay. Okay, I don't think that was actually brought out this year, but it's been a big year, like, in the development of that. And yeah, just in general, DaVinci feels like that release of DaVinci Resolve 20 was a massive year for Blackmagic. So I think that, coupled with how much they are absolutely dedicating themselves to DaVinci Cloud, and they're doing free webinars about how to use DaVinci Cloud. They really seem to be putting a lot of focus into cloud at the moment, both from cloud storage with the cloud stores and Blackmagic Cloud Storage, DaVinci Cloud and the collaboration and the ability to collaborate with edits and color grading and all sorts of things using DaVinci Resolve in the cloud or with the cloud. I don't know how you'd phrase it or best phrase it for that. So I think we see some more new workflows in there. And I would love to see, we got a slight, didn't even get a demo of it really, but got like a preview of the fact that they were working on Blackmagic. Actually, did we get a name? I think they called it ATEM Cloud and Blackmagic Video Hub Router in the cloud or something like that. I can't even remember the exact names they gave these products, but effectively think of an ATEM and it's living in the cloud somewhere and it's got all the same features, but you don't need the hardware locally. I think I would love to see at IBC 2025, would love to see a bit more on that. And I think we will get a bit more on where that development process is and possibly even some more features and possibly even some more, like they brought out the ATEM for the cloud, they brought out the Video Hub for the cloud. Could they bring out some other products for the cloud? Is there going to be some sort of audio mixer in the cloud? Is there going to be some sort of capture device in the cloud or something like that? Right, I've spoken a lot about products there, so I'm going to take some of the chat questions, but also if I've spoken about stuff that maybe you didn't know about and you have some questions about or you don't fully understand, maybe I've said something that's just made it really confusing, let me know in the comments and I'll try and go through it in a bit more. Right, where should we go to first? Let's just pick up this comment here from Jarrett. Says, interesting thoughts on Thunderbolt issues. I don't think that they have shipped Blackmagic Media Player yet. Yeah, so just to kind of update you on that one, it was an interesting one. It was delayed and delayed and delayed, and I think it was delayed for over a year since the announcement. Then Blackmagic, if I can quickly Google Blackmagic Media Player shipping, they kind of came out with this announcement. They came out with a PR announcement very, very recently saying it's starting to ship. And basically the announcement said, not congratulations, we're going to finally ship the Media Player 10G, but we're not able to ship it with both Thunderbolt ports. And the reason for that was because I think it's the front Thunderbolt port they couldn't get Apple certification for. So I believe, and I bet if we go on the product website, and just search for Media Player 10G, I bet they've removed all photos of the front Thunderbolt. So you still get the little placement bit here, but now I would imagine, see, what there was a front Thunderbolt port in this little bit here. That's obviously, they're not calling to that anymore. So they've had to remove that from the product itself because it didn't get Apple certification. Not sure why. But it was quite a major part of when Grant announced this product. It was actually quite a major selling point that you could just put this device in a desk rack in front of you, and with one Thunderbolt cable, you could just come along, plug your MacBook into the front of it, and get Ethernet, two-way audio and video, like all the features that the Media Player 10G give. Just by plugging into the front, it will also charge your MacBook as well. That's all gone now. Now you have to do the very laborious task of reaching round the back and trying to, like, with a torch in one hand and a cable in the other, trying to find the hole. We always have problems finding the hole, of course. So, we've got that now. But that could be the same thing that is delaying the ATEM Mini Extreme ISO GT. Possibly. That's my theory on it anyway. Let's see. Let's go through some quickly. I do think they won't do an ATEM SDI Extreme because it will cannibalize the bigger switches. Good point from Sheldon there. I did a video about why we won't see an ATEM Mini 4K, and without going into it in too much detail, I basically said, I think if they did a 4K ISO model, and actually I tripped myself up there, I don't think we'll see an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO 4K ISO. We could see a 4K, but not an ISO. Because I think if they do that, as Sheldon says quite rightly, they then cannibalize so many of their other products. Like, why would you ever go and buy a bunch of hyperdeck recorders if you've got 8 4K recorders in an ATEM Mini that costs under £3,000, for example? Like right now, again, I'll just reference it here. So this record setup that I've got gives me exactly that. I've got 2 of these devices, which gives me 8 4K ISO recordings. But you can see there, it's almost £12,000. So there's no way, in my opinion, they're ever going to release a product for, let's say, between 3,000 and 5,000 that gives you the same functionality. Good point from Sheldon. Thickaholic says, thanks for the app tip. Thinking of super minimal portable setup, maybe a second use of iPhone via HDMI for multicam. Got you. So you're referring back to having a multi-view on your iPad and then being able to switch from that kind of multi-view page. Yeah, I love the idea of like a slimmed down setup that you can basically take something like an ATEM Mini and an iPad, and that's all you really need to switch. I would say you could probably do that already with an ATEM Mini and a MacBook, because it used to be before, when the ATEM didn't have the option to have a webcam output be the multi-view, it would only output over the USB, the program. But now, if you do I don't know if you've already done this, Thickaholic, but if you do a firmware update on your ATEM Mini, up in the top in the software control, I can probably show you on here, hopefully without ATEM software control. Might as well show you because then it makes more sense. So let's show you computer. We'll make this full screen as well. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. So if you now go, when you do a firmware update, if you go to outputs, you've now got webcam output. We didn't have that before. So it now means that you can actually output the multi-view over the USB output from the device. And you could then just plug that into your MacBook. So then you've got your software control on your MacBook. But then if you open up something like QuickTime or anything where you can view a webcam output in, something like OBS you could even do, you'd be able to view the multi-view and control it from the same device. So yeah, a little tip for you there. Right. Who else have we got? Mighty Amigi says, I can tell you, once they figure out autofocus, it's going to change the game. And if they can make it so that you can control the autofocus on your phone or an external source, yeah. I think obviously Blackmagic we can say, started to dabble in autofocus now. They were very against autofocus until quite recently, when they brought it into their full frame cameras, or at least bought the beta to their full frame cameras. So now I believe it's definitely in the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K, the one that looks like a pocket cinema camera, but is actually it's same form factor, but it's a full frame camera. And so that's got the beta of autofocus. And I believe it's either in or coming to the Pixus 6K as well, or the whole Pixus line. The Pixus 12K will probably get it too. I don't believe that they are able to roll it out to the studio cameras or the cinema cameras due to the different sensor. I think it requires the PDAF sensor. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. I think it requires that, and the cinema line and the pocket cinema cameras and the studio cameras don't have that. So I don't think we'll see a firmware upgrade enabling autofocus in those cameras, unfortunately. But I'm sure in all Blackmagic's future cameras, we will likely see autofocus. The thing is, like, I was having this conversation again with a different client this week. Client was looking to do a full podcast setup for them. And we were talking about cameras, and it's always I always feel is a juggle between, I always get a client being like, I want the full Blackmagic ecosystem, but I want autofocus. And it's always like that balance. And it basically, yeah, it comes down to that. It's how important is it for you to have that ease of use and have things like tally lights and all of that jazz, and it to just be a one ecosystem of Blackmagic, so that you do have tally lights, so you do have camera control via the software or via Companion and things like that. So you have the ability to do 4K recording on the device and 1080p in the ATEM, and then just swap those files out in DaVinci afterwards. If all those things are important to you and you can sacrifice autofocus, maybe a lot of the things I do are podcast studios where people aren't moving around a lot. And so actually autofocus isn't a massive issue, because the operator, it's really nice. They can sit at their producer desk, and if they notice someone's slightly out of focus, they can go into ATEM software control and just nudge the focus wheel a little bit. But then I'll have other situations where they go, actually, all of that stuff you mentioned before, we don't really care about, but we do care about razor sharp focus. And then you're probably looking at, I've done Sony FX3 podcast studios, I've done FX30 podcast studios from the Sony range, the Canons, some of the shots I'm seeing coming out from the things like Canon C70s, Canon C80s right now, beautiful, like really, really nice. And of course, PTZ cameras as well, like they're up and coming. I've got down here, I've got an OBS Bot Tail 2. I plugged that in the other day. I really want to do a video on it. I'm just struggling to find the time. I plugged that in the other day and put it side by side with the camera I use right now, which is the Studio Camera 4K Pro G2, I think it is. Put it side by side with that and was basically able to match it, and it looked very, very similar. And there's a couple of features that I've said to OBS Bot, if you add these, I would start using the OBS Bot Tail 2 in podcast setups, because it gives so much flexibility in terms of being able to like move the camera. It's got autofocus, it's got really nice optics and zoom and things like that. I would start fitting them in some of my podcast studio builds for sure. But yeah, we'll see if Blackmagic do any more with autofocus. The only thing is, obviously, people like, or companies like Sony, Canon, Panasonic with their Lumix range and things like that, they've been doing autofocus for, I was about to say years, but decades. Blackmagic are playing catch up now. But the good thing about Blackmagic is they tend to catch up pretty quickly, and then usually overtake in whatever they put their mind to. Right, let's go for a few more, and then I'll probably do like a little roundup, and then I've got to shoot. This guy's got to cook dinner. Right, what should we go for? So Pete says, the new RØDECaster video software supports iPhone and iPad inputs via NDI. Spot on. Yeah, I mentioned that at the top of the show. I think that I've got a RØDECaster video, and I've tried it a couple of times. For those of you who don't know, let me just put this on screen for you guys. We'll go back here. So, did I have it? Yeah. So I mentioned that Rode are going to start introducing Dante audio to their products. I think that is going to be really useful, especially in things like you can then, let's just do RØDECaster video. You can then start using what is effectively, did I spell that right? RØDECaster. There we go. You can start using things like RØDECaster, oh, not RØDECaster, yeah, RØDECaster Duos. Is that it? Yeah, the RØDECaster Duo, which is the little 2-channel XLR and let me find it rather than just trying to describe it. Interfaces and mixers. So before I go back to the video, why I think Dante could be really cool is if something like this, the RØDECaster Duo, gets Dante, this becomes a really powerful thing for like commentators. You could just put one of these on a desk with 2 commentators, give them a headset and a microphone, and then get audio in and out of this device over the network to a much bigger system. So for things like esports and stuff like that, professional commentary boxes can cost thousands, but this will probably be able to do like 95% of what those do. So exciting if Rode are actually able to bring Dante to their existing line, but we're definitely going to see it in their future products as well. But let me touch on the RØDECaster video, right? Because I think this is a really cool product. There's some things I don't like about it. I've tested it a few times. One thing I will say is I just haven't had, I don't think confidence is the right word, but I just haven't had the desire to use this as like a main switcher for a client product. And I don't know why that is. I think part of it is like I have some beef with the multi-view. I don't like the fact that I'm not getting full frame rate in the multi-view. It doesn't instill confidence in me. And that's a tiny thing, I'm sure, for some people that you can get over. But for me, when I'm used to seeing like how I look at my multi-view, I want to know every camera is operating fine. I don't want to have to put it in preview and things like that. I just want to see everything, and that is effectively my confidence monitor. If I see something wrong on the multi-view, I know I need to investigate it. So there's little bits like that, but there's no getting away. Like, this packs a punch in terms of the amount of feature set that is in here. The fact that you can bring in NDI sources. They've also brought out, as Peter rightly points out in that comment, they've brought out an app as well where you can actually bring in 2 NDI feeds from one device. So you can bring in your front facing camera and your rear facing camera as 2 separate video inputs over the network to your RØDECaster. And that you can do that over Wi-Fi as well. It uses NDI HX3. So it is compressed video. But from the demos that I've seen, I haven't used it myself. I will say I haven't used the NDI integration myself yet. But from the demos that I've seen, it's worked really, really well. So I'm going to give that a download and give it another try, I think, because I want to like this thing. Like, I really want to use it on something. But for some reason, I just have some niggles with it. Let me know if anyone else feels this way. Last few comments then. We've got... Mighty says... If you can tell, I'm also losing my voice. I use it when I stream. It's in the pocket full 6K, full frame 6K. Yeah. So again, Blackmagic's way of naming things is never quite helpful. You've got the Blackmagic Cinema Camera 6K, which is the full frame version that does have autofocus. But you've also got the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K. So if it has the word pocket in it, it doesn't have autofocus, basically. What did Peter say? Oh, yeah, sorry. Thinkaholic just agreeing with Peter here in terms of that RØDECaster app. Sweet. Well, this has been interesting because I did just want to really get live and start. I definitely have missed being live. And one of the reasons I just wanted to hit the go live button today was because I just wanted to almost jump back on that horse because it feels like it's been so long since I've been live and spoken to you guys. So yeah, thank you for joining me and throwing some questions in the chat, throwing some comments in the chat. As I said halfway through, it's always so fun to like get that instant conversation and feedback with you guys. And yeah, hopefully, although I labeled this as a predictions video for IBC, we did talk about a couple of things that I think will play a big part, certainly for Blackmagic, but also at IBC in general. I will just say it. I think the buzzwords for IBC this year will be things like, I hate it, but AI is like the buzzword. It was last year. It's going to continue to be this year. We're going to see a lot of AI products, a lot of AI incorporated devices. I'll be really interested, like, where that's going to go, because obviously we've seen AI video become massive in terms of like AI generated video, but really I think the things that interests me is how can AI help us with in terms of automation with production, like whether it be identifying moments in clips, whether it be like, for me, what I would love is, can I get an AI auto director that is as good as a human at vision mixing a live show? Something that doesn't just monitor the audio levels and cut to who is speaking, but something that is actively looking at the visual frame of each camera and looking for, if it's people on a podcast, for example, it's looking for facial reactions to moments. It's looking for if someone was to stand up and applaud or something like that. It's looking deeper into what's actually happening and it's got that holistic contextual view, and is then cutting the cameras based on that rather than just using audio. I'd love to see AI go more into that realm. And then the other thing I think is going to be like a buzzword more of a buzzword at IBC than it was last year is, again, just cloud production, cloud editing, cloud storage, cloud everything. That's the way it's going. Remote production and cloud seems to be more than anything the way that things are going. So I'm excited to see what things come out around those two, for sure. Thank you for joining me, guys. Let me check that there's not any last thing. Thank you for saying like the stream. I appreciate that. I call it the Pocket FF because it's pocket body. Last little comment then that's just come in from Mighty. You can make that now, to be honest. You just got to train an AI model. Yeah, it's true. I was working with an AI LUT app, and it's not easy to train an AI to make that work. Yeah, that's the thing. There's so much technology out there in the AI space, and there's so many different ways that you can almost skin a cat and so many different roads that you can go down to do stuff. It's not easy at all, but I think AI is probably making it easier now more than ever to create really powerful automation, really powerful products. And also, like, a lot of people right now, I think there's an undertone of I don't know if scared or worries about AI, but sort of like the unknown, right? And there's all these conversations about, is AI taking people's jobs, especially in production and things like that. I think the best AI tools that we can create aren't the ones that take people's jobs, but are the ones that take the mundane tasks away that the person is currently doing and frees up more time for them to be creative and to do the things that humans do best, right? And leave the more mundane stuff like logging footage and things like that to an AI when they are good enough to do all that stuff. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Good chat. Enjoyed that. I'm going to make a contentious effort to go live more on this channel because, as I say, I really do miss that interaction. If you're new here and somehow discovered this live stream, definitely hit the subscribe button so you can get notified about more of those live streams, but also more of the videos coming onto the channel. Because I am, as I say, will be making more of an effort to put the full-time job just on pause sometimes and just make some videos for you guys to enjoy on the channel as well. So if you want to see those, hit the subscribe button. Let me know if you enjoyed this live stream and you want more. You can do that by hitting the like button. That's a good way. Also, I have no idea if it's on the live stream or just videos, but YouTube now has this thing called Hype, where if you like a video, you'll then be able to, I think it's only on phone, but if you like a video, you'll then be able to swipe across where it's got the comments and also award Hype. Not quite sure what that does, but the YouTube email they sent, it sounds like good things to my channel if you do it. So I appreciate if you see the option to hype me up. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening if you're like me here in the UK, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.